Hi you guys, Steph here. Today I wanted to talk to you about the book Judgment Detox by Gabrielle Bernstein, and I just wanted to share with you some of the things that I got from this book. So yeah, let's get started. So one of the first things, like my big takeaway from this book, is all about returning to love, letting go of judgment so that love can be the main thing in your life, and that even when we slip up and we choose judgment or anything that doesn't feel positive and it feels like a dose of negativity, then we can always pause and come back to love. Return to love. So one of the quotes that I really like from the book is by Rumi, and it is, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." And I think this is a really great quote, and there's a ton of really great inspirational quotes in this book. So I think that's fantastic because I'm a quotes girl, you all know this, and if there's a quote that speaks to me, I absolutely love it. So I definitely spent a lot of time highlighting a lot in this book. So she does also have a workbook that goes with this. I didn't use a workbook, I just used my notebook and a highlighter to go through some of the exercises. One of the first things she has you go through is identify your judgments and where they come from and all that good jazz. So you really get to dive in and get to know yourself on a deeper level. And I found that one of the areas that I judge myself the most is when it comes to how I am being a mom. And I noticed that I will be very harsh on myself and always thinking that I could be doing better and doing all these things. And if only I would have just taken that breath, right? If only I would have taken that breath, then I would have done a better job in that moment. And so I think part of that is because I'm comparing myself to, or judging myself compared to other moms that I want to be more like, or other moms that I absolutely do not want to be like. And so I see that reflected in the judgment of myself and the judgment of others. And so that is an area that I am releasing and learning to just return to love when it comes to my parenting and my relationship with myself. She spends a lot of time talking about how our true nature is love, and I 100% believe in that. I think that love and kindness is a thing that's going to lift the world, and my mission is to lift the frequency of the world. And so I'm a huge fan of this book because I do think that if we apply this book to our lives, then we all get to contribute to lifting the frequency of the world and spreading more love, and that is a fantastic thing. So after you identify your judgments, then you get to start your healing. And Gabby has some great tapping scripts that you can use in here. And if you are unfamiliar with tapping is a form of EFT, and what it is you have several different like acupuncture points that you use. And so she takes you through a process where you release the negativity and then do an upswing of positivity, and you end feeling empowered and awesome. And this is a really effective technique. You could pretty much tap on anything, however she uses it for judgment. So you start with your karate chop point, and then you go to your eyebrows, outside of your eyes, under your nose, under your chin, collarbone, underarm, top of head. And it's a pretty awesome technique. It's very simple. You can do it anywhere, even though sometimes people might look at you a little weird, like, what are you doing over there? But it works, and it's really fantastic. And I have been a huge fan of tapping myself. I started tapping quite a few years ago, and it really made a difference in my life and my own self-love and self-acceptance of who I am, because I used to be a perfectionist. I'm a recovering perfectionist, people. And so I tapped around that and learned to be okay with making mistakes and having flaws and being more playful and looking a little goofy. It was impossible for me to even take a silly photo because I was like, oh, I don't look I look funny in it, I look weird, but that's the point, right? You're supposed to look silly. And so now I can embrace that more. And anyway, I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it was for me, because I was so worried about not looking in control or not looking cute or not looking, I don't know. So also a big thing that Gabby talks about is like one of the reasons we don't want to, or one of the reasons why we do judge is because we don't want to feel a certain emotion. And that makes sense. Like I think about all the times when I go to judgment, it's because I want to protect myself from feeling hurt or fear or feeling unloved or unimportant or less than. So I do find that with myself, and I've noticed that. So like I'll find myself when my mom hurts my feelings or something, I'll go right to judgment, like, wow, I would never be a mom like that. Like I would never treat my child that way. And that's fully surrounded in judgment instead of seeing her for her and that she's loving the best she can and see her innocence in that. And instead what I do is when I feel that way, the shame or the unloving feelings of me come up, my insecurities come to the surface. And so tapping that away kind of helps release all of that and allows me to see the light in her instead of the darkness that I can decide what I want to zoom in on, right? What I perceive as darkness or what I perceive as light. And so I want to see her light because at the end of the day, all of us just want to feel loved. Anyway, I absolutely love the tapping scripts that Gabby has in her book. And I mean, they're so handy and they're right there and you can do them every day. Right there, you can just pick one and go for it. So it's really cool. I will be hanging on to those and using them often myself because I love them. Yeah, so she does spend a lot of time talking about see the light in others. And there was a quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer that says, see the light in others and treat them as if that is all you see. And I love that because if we come from a place from love, then and we respond to people as if we're only treating them with the light we see in them, then we're just spreading more love and more kindness and more goodness, and I'm all about that. So if me releasing judgment to myself and other people is the way to increase more love in the world, sign me up. I also absolutely love that she has meditations in here. So she has about 6 days of meditations. You can also, she provides like a resource link to her website where you can go and do the meditations with her. The one downside for me with the meditations when I listen to hers, well, because I can't really read the meditation and do it, so I wanted to go to her website and listen to it. The downside for me is that they're a little too fast. And so, like for me, even like taking a breath, a lot of times people like take a breath in and let it out. Well, I take long breaths, because I guess meditation is something I've been doing for a while, and so practicing my breath. So I have really long, deep breaths now, and so I felt like I couldn't even complete a full breath, and then she goes through the meditation quite quickly, and I'm a little bit harder to, because I'm also, again, like, I'm very in my head a lot of the times, right? So I'm thinking a ton, I'm really in there, I'm always thinking about what I need to be doing next, what's this? I do stay in the present moment at times, but even that, like I linger, like I like to, if I'm out in nature, I linger and I take it in for a while, I absorb it. So with the meditations, they go pretty quickly, and it was a little too quick for me to fully get into it and visualize everything I needed to. So what I did is I listened to her meditation and I knew the basic concept of what I was going to be doing, and then, or read it in the book, and then just did it at my own pace, visualizing it, taking myself through the steps at my own pace, and I found that quite lovely. So, yeah. So also when you do the meditations, allow your own flexibility so you can adapt it to you. Now some people, like they can just like boop, 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 go through it and they get the meditation and they get the benefits. I just take a little bit more time. I just realized this whole time that my headphones were on the desk instead of me using them. So hopefully you could hear me. Okay. No judgment, right? Oh, and the other really cool thing about the meditations is that they build on top of each other. So you start with one and you just build up over the 6 days, and I just love meditation anyway. I'm a huge fan. And what I like about guided meditations is if you're not sure what to meditate on or you're new to it, it just like, I don't know, it guides you. And so you feel like, hey, I got this. I'm doing this. you know? So it's pretty cool. And of course, this book would not be complete without talking about forgiveness, right? So I love that she talks about forgiveness. I also am super happy that Gabby talks about when we forgive, it's a gift that we give ourselves, and that it's a process, it's a practice. We don't just wake up one morning and be like, oh, wow, I totally feel like forgiving. It's a decision, and it's a practice that we do, and there'll be moments when we go back to anger and we can come back to forgiveness. So I absolutely love that, and that she also discussed that we can forgive someone for a horrendous act or for something that deeply hurt us and not have to have that person in our life. Sometimes people have this idea that if you forgive, that means that person, you wipe the slate clean and that person's in your life and you just go about it. It doesn't have to be that. You can forgive and still be separate, if that makes sense at all. So I'm glad she brought that up in here because I think that's an important component of forgiveness. However, you can also forgive and then it can strengthen your relationship and you can move forward together that way. There are some things though that happen where maybe you don't want that person to be a part of your life and you can still forgive them and enhance your own happiness and your own spiritual journey and just your own livelihood and your quality of life by forgiving the people who have injured you. Yeah, because forgiveness is the key to healing. And so I love the sentence she wrote in there in the book. It says, forgiving eyes only see light. And I thought that's really great. I love that. And so if you can't see the light in someone, maybe there needs to be a release of judgment and replace that with forgiveness, which is phenomenal. And then of course, she ends the book with giving suggestions on how to, once you finish your detox, how to continue practicing it in your life so that you can remain, because sometimes we do a detox, right, and we're like, I feel so good, and then we go back to our old habits. And so she gives suggestions on things that we can do to maintain our detox and just release the judgment and feel good and return to love and choose love. And she also talks about, which I absolutely thought was beautiful, that choosing love and acting in love and giving love is one of the most wonderful ways to contribute to the world. And again, I'm a huge fan of that. That's my own personal beliefs as well. So I'm all for that. So overall, I would highly recommend this book to people. I think it has a lot of great exercises in there. The way she writes is beautiful. It's inspiring. You can just feel the love. And she even talks about her own struggles, at times, or her own expectations that she's had to work through herself, and how she's been able to maintain being as judgment-free as she can. And when she messes up, she can go back and kind of redo, put a pause button on and be like, oh, let me redo that. Let me try that again. Let me try that with love and see how that changes my response and my reaction and even the way I feel. And I don't know. I think it's a beautiful book. It's a great example of how we can love ourselves more and how we can love the world more and how we can love everyone around us and enhance all of our relationships. And I'm 100% for enhancing our relationships and making them the best they can be. And if releasing judgment is something that we can do to increase the happiness and joy and love in our relationships, again, sign me up. So, I don't know. If you've read this book, I'd love to hear some of your takeaways from it. So share those in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe and share some love today. Bye.